Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another segment of SWC reporting from Bay Ridge, Brooklyn. Connecting you to the content of those involved without censorship, my name is Aryanna Agron.
My name is Britney Espinoza. Thank you so much for joining us. Today we had the chance to talk to Republican candidate Brian Fox. As we know that there are 3 candidates running for state senate in New York's 26th district. Let's hear what Brian has to say. Hey Brian, it's a pleasure to speak with you today. We deeply thank you for taking your time to answer these questions. May you please introduce yourself and explain why you're running for state senate?
Sure. So my name is Brian Fox. The reason I'm running for New York State Senate is really to bring back home the fundamental issues. It is to address quality of life. It's to ensure that our police department are refunded and protected, and to also make sure that school safety and school choice is at a top priority. A lot of my issues, like I was mentioning to you earlier, cut through party lines. I think that that's something that throughout district-wide, a lot of people can resonate with. And really, again, I just want to make sure that as a small business owner, I had obviously some concerns. I'm not a lifelong politician. I kind of came in just as a concerned neighbor, even previously to my city council run, and largely again for New York State Senate. I think that our local politicians haven't been doing a good job at all, and it's something that, again, the fundamentals is what I'm looking to address moving forward in the New York State Senate.
Right, absolutely. There's no doubt that crime is skyrocketing, and there are politicians out there that are pushing and that pushed for bail reform. What is your thought on this?
Yeah, bail reform needs to be completely repealed, in my opinion. I feel like bail reform is part of the reason why we're continuing to see repeat offenders on the streets. I think that there's absolutely no repercussions when it comes to criminals committing crimes, and that's why we see repeat offenders. Furthermore, it's making it ever more difficult for the police department, NYPD, to do their job effectively. If they're arresting individuals, let's say for violent offenses, there's no repercussions in the sense that they're going to get locked up. They're going to be put in a situation where they're in hold for basically 2 to 3 hours,
Right.
and then they're let back out on the street to commit the same crime. So for me, I think that bail reform is something that I'm looking to address from day one once in office.
There are parents out there that are concerned that their children might be vaccinated as mandated by the city in order to be allowed to enter their school buildings. Would you be opposed to these mandates as well as the mask mandates? I mean, this applies to staff as well.
Absolutely, yeah. I think from day one started when we start to see a lot of the mandates rolled out with kids basically doing e-learning from home.
Right.
I was completely opposed to that. I feel like it's a detriment to the educational system. I think it's a detriment to the kids actually learning and absorbing what they're being taught. Furthermore, I understand that, look, in today's day and age, we all have to take safety precautions to a certain degree. But when it comes to mandatory mandates, I think that I'm completely against. I was against it from day one. Like I said, I think it's a detriment to the learning curve for our children. I think it also made, not everyone mentions, but it's also harder on the parents too. You're home with your kids all day. Parents obviously, whether they work from home or they don't, it made everyone's schedule, drastically different. So I think it's a healthy thing for kids to obviously engage socially in school, not to mention learn, but engage with their friends. I mean, it's a vital piece of just, growing up and going through the school system. So for me, when it comes to the mask mandates and all of that stuff, I completely oppose it and will continue to do so.
My last question for you, Brian, is what is your message to the Sunset Park community that hasn't heard about you? It can be that the demographics have changed due to voters discovering that their values reflect the conservative side. But the media has set a negative narrative about the Republicans that make it seem that they're a menace to society and to the government.
Sure.
What would you tell them or to let them know so that they can support you on November?
Absolutely. I think that there's, it's very interesting when you see it. I think on a national level, that seems to be the general, rhetoric that's going on. Media is very polarizing, especially in today's day and age. Mainstream media is very polarizing because they're really choosing to dictate what is being put out for us to ultimately listen to. At the end of the day, going back to the initial conversation I had earlier in this interview, my issues are purely fundamental. And I think that when it comes to speaking with moderate Democrats or perhaps maybe even more progressive Democrats, the issues that I'm running on are, again, quality of life, making sure that everyone is protected in our community, making sure that our police department is properly funded, and making sure, again, that our kids and our schools remain safe. To just bring up a point, schools is a huge topic of discussion when it comes to safety. One of my opponents actually opposed putting metal detectors and having NYPD is as security to make our children more safe. One of my opponents actually opposed that. So my message really for Sunset Park is you have someone who wasn't a lifelong politician, admittedly so. I'm an entrepreneur and small business owner. But at the same time, I think that because I'm coming from a genuine light and genuinely care about everybody in my community, I want to ensure that the top priorities are met and that we all have the same opportunities throughout the entire district. And I know I'm here in Bay Ridge, but for Sunset Park specifically, where there has been a lot of recent violence, specifically with guns, we need to unify and we need to have somebody in office who actually will address it.
Fair enough. Well, thank you so much for allowing us, and for you to answer some of our questions.
Absolutely.
We wish you the best of luck.
Thank you so much.
And yeah, until next time.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
Why do you support Brian?
Well, Brian's message of common sense, especially with young people, it relates to me. I see in this city, I grew up here all my life, my parents, my father, my mother, and I just want to see change. And I've been with Brian ever since the city council run. I believe his message to the community is very simple, and I like it, and I think it needs to happen. We need people in leadership like Brian to make sure our community is safe.
For me, it's as simple as he's just not a Democrat, and we just need something different. And I saw Brian, I saw the opportunity to volunteer for Brian, and I took it. So.
Okay, great. Do you think your community has changed in terms of public safety?
Oh yes, it has tremendously. I think not for the better, for the worse. I think. Just was it 2 nights ago we had a shooting that happened in Bay Ridge, and then another sexual assault. Happened on Tuesday night. I think, and the councilman and the senator haven't addressed it. I think it's going to get worse if we don't bring back and refund our police.
Yeah, same answer that he has, especially the bail reform. Something has to change, and basically that summarizes it.
Okay, awesome point, guys. What is your thought on progressive leaders that push to defund the police?
I think it's just a ridiculous idea. The fact that police are not involved in our community is just above outrageous to me. I've grown up with police. I've seen police who care. Granted, there's one out of the bunch who are not good, and that's just how any job is in life. But the police are here to protect and to serve, and I think we need to actually bring that message more. I think we need to involve our community officers in outreach, let them, play with the kids in the playgrounds, make sure, that they know that they are there for us. So I think, policing is one of the major issues, and I think any person who wants to defund the police should not hold public office at all.
To me, it just sounds like a publicity stunt, and a dangerous one at that. I don't think the Democrats are really serious. I think they just kind of ran on it because it sounded like something they could do, and it just doesn't really make sense at the end of the day.
Okay, great point, guys. Do you believe in the quality of education, not indoctrination?
Yes, I do. I've grown up in private school. I went to public college. I believe indoctrination does not work. I believe it's outrageous even to bring that into our schools. Quality education is important. Everyone's the future. My generation going down is the future. And if we don't have quality education for all, it's going to go straight north. It's not going to go good.
Same answer that he has. Indoctrination obviously isn't the path forward, especially with this weird critical race theory thing going on. Obviously something fishy is going on, so yeah, something has to change. We got to speak out about it.
Okay, awesome. Okay, last question. What is a day like in Bay Ridge?
Day life in Bay Ridge, when there's not shootings and there's not crime going on, it's a great place to enjoy. I mean, when I think of Bay Ridge, I think, in Brooklyn itself, I think of 2 places, Bay Ridge and Coney Island. Bay Ridge for the bars and the food and the atmosphere, and just like today with the stroll. But when there's no crime, no shooting happening, no larceny happening, it's a perfectly good day, but we haven't had that in a while, so.
Yeah, I grew up here. It used to be pretty chill. Now, I've been noticing a lot of stuff going down, and it's just been kind of sad.
Okay, awesome point. Thank you guys
Thank you.
so much for coming here. And yeah,
Thank
awesome.
you.
Hello, Curtis. We're grateful that you're joining us today on our segment, and we're very thankful to answer, some of our questions.
Sure.
May you introduce yourself and explain why you decided to endorse Brian?
Well, I supported Brian in the recent city council election. He ran when I was running for mayor. He just barely lost. And the night of the actual count, he was ahead in terms of the actual counted ballots, but then he lost on the absentee ballots. But he's coming back now to run for state senator. Gonades is going to have quite a test in the primary. He may not even win that primary. But I support Brian because it's all about law and order. And this whole area, Bay Ridge, Dyka Heights, Marine Park, this had a horrific rise in crime. In fact, there was just a shooting last night at 85th and 5th outside the bar at like 11:30 at night. These kind of things never happened here before in Bay Ridge, but they are now.
Right, absolutely. As you know, you mentioned crime rate is on a rise, and movements like defund the police and the bail reform are alarming to residents who are devastated by the crime that has taken place near their homes and near their schools. What is your thought on this?
Well, look, they defunded the police by $1 billion.
Right.
That was under de Blasio and the city council and the city councilman from Bay Ridge. They never put it back. So that means they're $1 billion short, plus they're losing police officers through normal retirement, early retirement, and they're being recruited away by other cities. So we're at a very dangerous level now. And Gonades, who I've known for years, I actually supported him in one of the races when I was a Reform Party chairman, has so disappointed me at every level. He basically lied to me originally about what he was going to do for this community and the surrounding communities, and he totally sold out to the Democratic Socialists of America, the AOC and her supporters, which is fine if you want to be that way, but don't pretend to be a moderate Democrat and then all of a sudden do what the DSA does.
We know that you are a founder of the nonprofit Guardian Angels. How has your organization been affected? How has your team experienced the matter of public safety and throughout NYC? How has your organization impacted communities in New York City?
Well, we started in 1979. It was a lot worse than it is now. But that's because they had to lay off cops back then. They didn't have the money. They were on the verge, New York City, of bankruptcy. We started patrolling the trains, the streets, the parks in New York City, out of a McDonald's in the Bronx where I was the night manager. It has since expanded into 13 countries, 130 cities. But in all that time, in 43 years, we never were asked to patrol Bay Ridge, Dyka Heights, Bensonhurst. This is the first time we've ever been asked to patrol these areas, and we're doing it on a regular basis. It's unbelievable the crimes that are taking place here, and the response of people is going to be simple. They're going to put for sale signs out in front of their houses, and they're going to leave to Florida, Georgia, North Carolina, South Carolina, Virginia, Texas, or Tennessee. And we're trying to stop that. We're trying to create an attitude of improve, don't move. We can improve this situation before it becomes so severe that people feel they have no other choice but to leave.
Yeah, oh, you're excellent. Yeah, your point is excellent. Once again, thank you so much for taking your time answering some of these questions. We hope that you continue to be the leader that you are, an advocate for our city, because we need one like you. But yeah, thank you so much.
No problem. And I'll get the swagger man, Eric Adams. He has no plan in another 4 years. I'll be back at him.
Absolutely. Thank you so much.
Do you think your community has changed in terms of public safety?
Public safety, yes. Do you want me to just grab this? Yeah, I remember years ago it was really dangerous. I say there was a time where getting run over by an e-scooter and gluten weren't the most dangerous things. It seems like we're going back to the 80s, and it's terrifying. I know so many people who are leaving Brooklyn because the quality of life is going down and the cost of living is going up. I say something's wrong with Brooklyn if Staten Island or Pennsylvania or Tennessee is looking good. And people in our community, first, second generation immigrants, they're moving to Republican districts. You know, I like my community, even if I don't look like them. I want them to stay.
Awesome, great point. What is your thought on progressive leaders that push to defund the police?
Okay. They're not progressive. They're disingenuous. I believe that their goal is to destroy the community so that the developers could buy it up. We have a city councilwoman and state assemblywoman who work for Pratt and the Fifth Avenue Committee. Their job is they work for the developers. They don't work for our community. And this is why our community will be pushed out if we don't stop.
Okay, thank you. Do you believe in the quality of education, not indoctrination, knowing that you do have a young son?
I probably shouldn't tell you this, but I just sent my son overseas to school because I don't believe in our education, the quality of education. I refer to him as an educational refugee. It's unfortunate the shape of our schools. I want to see a change. I think we should also fund the parents and the students. If you want to homeschool, let that money go to the parents to homeschool them. We spend the most. It's around $30,000 a year to educate a student, and I do some volunteer teaching at the schools where we teach them how to create sustainable businesses and sell on eBay or Etsy, Amazon, and I found that the kids, they don't want to learn.
Okay, awesome, great point. Since you do frequently visit Bay Ridge a lot, what is a day like in Bay Ridge?
What do they like in Bay Ridge?
What is a day like in Bay Ridge?
You know, I think the people in Bay Ridge are very similar to the people in Sunset Park. Hardworking community. A lot of my customers, we sell work shoes, work clothes. A lot of them live in Bay Ridge and Sunset Park, and a lot of them are moving out. Oops. So a lot of them are moving out, and we want to keep them here. We like our community. A lot of them are moving. Yeah, but Bay Ridge and Sunset Park should be one district.
Okay, thank you. Awesome point. This is Aryanna reporting from SWC in Bay Ridge, Brooklyn. Thank you. Okay, keep in mind, the district includes Bay Ridge, Diker Heights, parts of Sunset Park, Park Slope, Cobble Hill, Carroll Gardens, Borum Hill, Red Hook, downtown Brooklyn, Brooklyn Heights, Vinegar Hall, and Dumbo.
Yeah. Those who are registered Republicans can vote on November for the general elections. This was Britney and Aryanna reporting from Bay Ridge, Brooklyn for SWC, and stay tuned for more as always.